Opening scene, black screen, bold white text fades in slowly. It only took one joke, ... and $300 million. 72 hours later, it was all over. Music builds a tense, cinematic voiceover. Candace Owens is no stranger to controversy. For years, she's made her name off of bold claims, sharp commentary, and viral moments designed to divide, provoke, and grab attention. But this time a broken bar. She went too far, and it cost her everything. It started with what Candace called just a joke, a segment on her podcast filled with her usual sarcasm targeting none other than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a rising star in the Democratic Party and one of the most vocal advocates for justice and accountability on Capitol Hill. The line? It was crude, it was personal, it was racial, and it crossed a line that shouldn't have been crossed. Cut to audio clip. Candace Owens, laughing. Jasmine Crockett, please. She's just Congress's version of Cardi B in a pantsuit. All noise, no knowledge. You could replace her with ChatGPT and no one would notice. Laughter from her co-host. End of clip. What Candace didn't know or maybe didn't care about was that Crockett had been watching, and she wasn't laughing. Because the clip went viral. Within hours, millions had heard it, and what some dismissed as satire others saw for what it was: defamation, degradation, and a dog whistle to Candace's most toxic audience. Then came the moment no one expected. Jasmine Crockett filed a lawsuit. Defamation, emotional distress, character assassination, $300 million. The filing wasn't vague. It named Candace Owens personally. It detailed the pattern of public attacks, and it backed up every single claim with documentation, timestamps, past statements, and public reactions. The legal world was stunned. Commentators said it was bold. Analysts said it would never work. But Crockett, she didn't care what they thought. She knew the power of the law and she was ready to fight. Her legal team, one of the top First Amendment and civil rights firms in the country, issued a public statement. This case is not about disagreement. It's about defamation and the intentional destruction of reputation under the guise of free speech. The clock started ticking. Candace Owens had 72 hours to respond. And what happened in those 72 hours was career-ending. Hour 1. Backlash. Owens tried to go on the offense, calling the lawsuit laughable, saying, "Greater than I guess Jasmine Crockett thinks she's immune to criticism because she hides behind race and gender." But that only made things worse. Dozens of black women in politics and media, even some conservatives, called her out. Tweets rolled in by the thousands. This isn't criticism, it's targeted harassment. Mocking a black woman's intelligence isn't edgy, it's lazy. Her podcast sponsors, gone. One by one, they pulled out. Not just over the lawsuit, but because their brands were being dragged through the mud. Hour 18, internal revolt. Candace's own team started leaking. A former producer released a private message from months earlier, showing Candace had planned to provoke Crockett. Greater than she's the next attack. If I can trigger her, I'll go viral. This wasn't off the cuff, it was calculated. Now the lawsuit didn't just look valid, it looked deliberate. Hour 27, conservative cracks. Fox News, Purdue, The Daily Wire, Owens's usual platforms started distancing themselves, not because they suddenly disagreed with her politics, a broken bar, but because legally, they smelled blood. No one wanted to be named in Crockett's discovery process, and Crockett's team made it clear, greater than we will pursue every party who gave her a platform for this smear campaign. Now it wasn't just about money, it was about precedent. Hour 45, platform freeze. Instagram suspended her account for targeted harassment. YouTube demonetized her latest video. Spotify removed the episode entirely. Owens raged. She called it censorship. But the public wasn't buying it. Crockett hadn't silenced Candace. Candace had silenced herself, through her own words, her own joke, her own arrogance. Hour 71, the letter. Just 1 hour before the 72-hour mark, Candace Owens' lawyers reached out quietly to Crockett's team. They wanted to talk settlement, but it was too late. The damage was done. Candace's name had become radioactive. Her show cancelled. Her speaking engagements pulled. Her book deal on indefinite pause. And Jasmine Crockett, she hadn't just filed a lawsuit, she had launched a movement. News outlets started running headlines like, Greater than black women in politics say enough is enough. A rally behind Crockett's lawsuit. Crockett case could redefine free speech boundaries in the social media era. The joke that ended a career. Crockett herself stayed poised and no theatrics. No revenge tour. Just one tweet. Greater than freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. I said what I said, and now the courts will decide. It became a rallying cry. #stand with Crockett. #note a funny joke. $300 million lesson. And what about Candace? She went quiet. 3 days after mocking Crockett, she deleted her entire Twitter history. Then, her podcast RSS feed vanished. And then, silence. The conservative world didn't come to her defense. Even her former allies began to say, she went too far. She thought she was untouchable. She forgot that black women are not afraid to sue back. Fast forward 30 days. Depositions began, and they weren't kind to Candace. Her own emails and internal chats showed a pattern of targeting Crockett not for policy disagreements, but for personal attacks. Words like rage farm, bait, and clips to cut for her outrage were used repeatedly. In one leaked message, Candace wrote, "Greater than if we go viral, we win. She's too emotional. She'll overreact." She underestimated her. Jasmine Crockett didn't overreact. She outplayed. She outsmarted. She outlawyered. And now, Candace Owens is facing the biggest legal, financial, and public image disaster of her life. Even if she wins in court, she's already lost in public. She's no longer the truth teller. She's the defamer, the bully, the cautionary tale. And Crockett, she's stronger than ever, not just because she sued but because she reminded everyone that greater than being a public figure does not mean being a public punching bag. We are not the joke. We are the line you cannot cross. And that, in 2025, black women in power will no longer let you profit off of disrespect. Not on their watch. Not anymore. Closing shot. Jasmine Crockett walking out of the courthouse, flanked by supporters. Cameras flash. She doesn't gloat. She smiles. Voice over. She didn't scream. She didn't insult. She didn't clap back. She sued. And she changed the game. One joke. $300 million. 72 hours later. Broken bar.